Hey, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It's your friendly neighborhood art teacher here with your next Elements of the Art lesson. You will be learning about shape and form. So, quick review. What are the elements of art? They are the building blocks of art. They are the things that you need to build up your artwork. They are color, line, shape, form, space, texture, and value. So some of our more sharp-eyed people might notice that I didn't include space last week, and that is totally my fault. I knew something was wrong when I was doing it, but for some reason it just always escaped me. So yes, space is definitely one of them, and I will cover that one here. No, I don't mean space like what you go flying through in rockets. This week we're going to be doing shape, form, and space. So, shape. Objects that are two-dimensional, usually defined by a line. When you make a dot and you continue it into a line, that can just be a line. But if you have it come all the way back and, connect with itself again, you can have, that makes a shape. So there are two main types of shapes, geometrics and organic shapes. You can see some very good examples of those here. What is the real difference between organic and geometric shapes? Geometric shapes are shapes that we have names for. They're names, shapes that you can recognize by their amount of sides. So triangle has 3, rectangle has 4, 2 long sides, 2 short sides. An octagon has 8 sides. An oval has, well, an oval is a kind of elongated circle. A circle doesn't have any side, or only has one side, I guess you should say. And some artists do consider it organic. I consider it geometric. I won't quiz you on that though, so don't worry. And organic shapes are more free-form. We don't usually have names for these types of shapes. Some people call them blobs. Some people look at them more like clouds. I think, they kind of remind me of things like water drops or paint splatter, things like that. In form, are objects that are three-dimensional or have length, width, and height. So form is 3D, shape is 2D. Our shape of a triangle is called a triangular prism when it's a form. The rectangle shape is a rectangular prism when it's a form. A circle can become a sphere or a cylinder. And a semicircle could become a cone. Sometimes the circles kind of become cones too. And let's talk about space. I'm going to pop in for a second and talk to you about space. Space is a little confusing. Mostly we're going to talk about how much space you use filling up your picture. But there are two different types of space. There's other types of space that we're going to talk about. Please don't worry if you don't really follow some of these. We'll go back over it and I will be able to help you remember what they are. So space can mean two things. A feeling of depth or 3D dimensions in a picture, or the artist's use of an area within the picture. These are called negative space and positive space. And it all has to do with where the art is focused. If you've ever heard a book called The Dot, the girl in it makes dots. She paints dots. She does lots of things with dots, and it says, and one time she made a dot by not even making dots all around it. So we could pretend that's kind of like her picture on the bottom down here. This empty space is not where the focus of her artwork is. So it is the negative space. All of her dots on the outside where the focus is, that's the positive space. But it can also be the opposite. Up here in this top one, all of the dots are inside of the circle, and that is her positive space. And all of this on the outside is the negative space. So once again, I said, I know this kind of a weird concept. It might be a little strange for people. It's okay if you don't immediately get it. Don't worry. Another way to look at this is this old illusion of the vase or faces. If you look on the one on the left, you see that the vase is black, and it makes it kind of easy to see that's the positive space where the vase is. But if you switch it and you make the outside of the vase, which was the negative space, you see the faces. That's another example of it. What you guys are going to do for your project is this kind of hand tracing project. First, you will trace the organic shape of your hand. You will then be using lines to create geometric shapes. You're going to fill up the space of your page. Your hand will be colored in one kind of color, warm or cold, and then the background will be another kind of color. So I'm going to see if I can, that's about as tall it gets. So let's walk through how this is going to go. First, you need to trace your hand. And what I mean by you, I mean you need to get someone to either help you trace your hand, or you need to trace your hand. If you can trace your hand, awesome. If you need someone else to help you trace your hand, that's okay. I do want to point out that because I am an adult and I am fully grown, my hand is actually pretty big and it takes up a lot of space. Your hand might be a lot smaller. That's okay. So I'm going to trace my hand. Now, please, when you're tracing your hand, try not to get those tiny, skinny little fingers that like some of my little kids do. And one of the reasons that they do that is that they put their, instead of having your pencil up and down, which made a line more like that, they put their pencils down, they tilt it. Do you see the difference? This is up and down. They have it tilted, and that way, when they come back around and they're still doing that way, they come up with those tiny, skinny fingers. But if you hold it up and down, you keep it even, you have a normal looking finger. So I'm going to go back to the hand that I traced. I'll get rid of that because I don't want you to get distracted by that one. Next up, you're going to need something to help you draw a straight line with. It does not have to be a ruler. If it helps you take the edge of a book and draw a straight line, go for it. You just want to make sure that you're drawing straight lines. So I'm going to draw one up and down, or a vertical line. I'm going to try and make them as wide as the ruler. That just makes it easier for me. I'm going to go up and down, up and down. Whoops. See what happens if you don't hold it very well? That's okay. I'll work with it. Up and down, and up and down. And you can see that my hand has been divided into these long sections. Now I'm going to hold it this way and come back and do this opposite, going horizontal. Also, please don't worry if you can't do this as fast as I do it. I've only done this, you know, a couple of 100 times in the last few days. So, yeah, I've got a lot of practice. Alright, I'm going to keep going until I go all the way down. So, I'm going to, and then I've got one more right here. I can't seem to get the whole thing on here with my computer, but that's okay. So next, you have to pick whether you want your hand to be warm colors or cool colors. I have been doing mine in the cool colors. All of my examples I've done in cool colors. So this time, I think I'm going to change, and I'm going to pick out some warm colors. So I'm going to pick out reds. Let's get some orange and, oh, go back, orange. And then I'm going to pick out 2 yellows. Do you have to use 6 of them? No, you don't. You can just use 3 if it will help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start coloring in these boxes. And let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Nope, cannot zoom in a little bit. Well, you can still see it, that parts of my finger are inside of these boxes. So you can see, like that part of the finger, this, the tips of my finger. And I'm going to just try and make those darker so you can see a little better. And if you do like I did, you can just erase part of it. It's okay. I'm going to come down here and do these to make that a little darker. Alright, so now I'm going to take one of my warm colors and I'm only going to color in the part of that finger that's in that box. Then I'm going to stop. I'll pick another color and I'll work on that next part of that finger. And then I'm going to finish the top one with another one of my colors. I think I'll do the same thing over here on this side. So, whoa, that's like a highlighter kind of yellow. That's a really bright one. Then I'm going to pick another. So let's see if my oranges, yeah, they're kind of different. So red, orange, and yellow are the three. That's like the smallest amount that you can do. But I've added in some pink and some different oranges and apparently some insanely screaming yellow to make for my version of it. And I'm going to keep going. I'm a little worried that some of these are really close together. Yeah, that orange and that yellow are turning out to be kind of close together. So I'm going to take this, I'm just going to use a kind of a regular yellow. Now one of the things, and this is going to be a challenge, is to try not to let the same color touch. So since I did this part red, I also did that little spot red. But I don't want to do down here in red, because that would be a different box. I want to make it the same kind of yellow I did on this side. But that means I also wouldn't do that box yellow. I'm going to go ahead and go back to a pink for that one. Now you just keep doing this until you fill up the whole hand. I am not going to sit here and do this one part at a time because that will take way too long. But once you've got the whole hand done, that's when you switch to the opposite ones. So since I did warm colors on the inside, I would only do cool colors behind it. And once again, stick to the box. So I stopped at that line, and I stopped at that line, and then the one up here above it, I'll go there's fine, and then this little spot down here, I could do blue. Now I don't want to have purple touching those again, so I'll do a blue up here above it. But on this side, I'm going to pick a very light green. Come over here on this side and work with it. So you'll do cool colors on the outside. You can do your entire thing with only 6 colors. But if you have a lot of them, if you have a variety of them that you would like to do, you can also pick a variety of them. So let's look at some student examples. You can see over here on the left is someone who has pretty much done straight up what I did. Now their boxes are really big. Please don't make your boxes any bigger than they did. So if you only have 4 boxes across, don't make it any bigger. I mean, you'd still want to have boxes on yours. This one used more boxes, but they also did 2 hands. You are welcome to try doing 2 hands if you want. And yes, if you see the circle one right here, you can do other kinds too. You don't have to do straight lines. I just stick with the straight lines one as my example because that's usually the easier one for people to figure out. So if you want to experiment and you want to do the other kinds, you are welcome to. And if you want a real challenge, you can work on yours by doing the same thing, but instead of just doing solid colors, see about doing patterns, whole bunch of patterns, instead of your solid colors. But again, that one's only if you really get done like really fast and you want a challenge. So that is it for this lesson. Take a look at your seesaw if you're in 3rd grade, Google Classrooms if you were in 4th and 5th, and you will see this video. You will see some more information. I'm going to try and make a Nearpod for you guys so that you can see this slideshow again, and you don't have to be, you know, totally confused or lost on anything. So that's it. I will see you guys next week.